So hello again, everybody. This is Ken Smith from Building Financial Resilience for an Uninsurable Future. This is our podcast, Resilience in Action. And with me today, I have Erik Salna from the Florida International University. Erik, would you please introduce yourself and could you please explain this very complicated equation that you have here from your website?
Sure. Thank you. My pleasure. Glad to be with you here today. Hello, everybody. I'm Erik Salna. I'm an Associate Director of Education and Outreach at the Extreme Events Institute at Florida International University in Miami. So if you go to our webpage, Extreme Events Institute, right on the homepage, yes, you will see an equation. And what it is, it's a hazard risk equation commonly used in the insurance industry. This particular version of the equation was done by our director, Dr. Rich Olson. So to explain it to you, you have the left-hand side, the right-hand side. So the left-hand side, you have EMR, DR, and CAT-R. So that basically is the end result of whatever the natural hazard that hits your community. So EM stands for emergency, D is disaster, and CAT is catastrophe. So the right-hand side, H is the hazard, and then you have EX times V. So depending on the strength of the hazard, and then EX is exposures, how many buildings and people in harm's way, times the vulnerability of that community. So how well are building practices, building codes, preparedness policies? So those things on the right-hand side will determine the left-hand side on whether that community, it's just an emergency, or was it worse, a disaster, or even worse yet, a catastrophe.
And is this something that anybody can apply to their community?
Pretty much. It's a nice overview on focusing in on your community in terms of its growth, its size. Is it in a vulnerable spot? When you talk about exposures, are you on a coastline? Are you along a river? Are you in a floodplain that typically floods? And then the vulnerability is, well, how well are those communities prepared for either the flood or the wind event or storm surge? So it's another way to kind of focus the conversation on natural hazards affecting anywhere in the country.
So it's not just for hurricanes, it's for any type of natural disaster.
Absolutely. And as we see, we're seeing more and more extreme events. And, traditionally over time and in the last, 30, 40 years, the growth of the United States, certainly it all started near rivers where that was early transportation, but the coastlines. And as I like to say, in the last 40 years or so, the population shift of the United States went from the Rust Belt, states in the north, to the Sun Belt. And that means states along our Gulf Coast, Florida, and the Southeast. Everyone wants the warmer weather. Everyone wants to be near the beaches. But now that puts a lot of exposure right up into a vulnerable area that can get hurricanes and storm surge.
So you talk about hurricane, that's obviously down in Florida, your number one issue. Tell us a little bit about the priorities for your institute, what you guys are looking at. I see this map here, folks. This is, I don't believe this is all of the hurricanes, and it's certainly not all of the severe storms that didn't quite make hurricane, but this will give you a good idea that where Erik is sitting right now is Hurricane Alley Ground Zero. So tell us a little bit about the priorities that you guys are working on.
Sure. And you're right. Hurricane Alley, Ground Zero. We're the lead pin at the end of the bowling alley. We're the hurricane capital of the country. It's a beautiful place to live. We like to call Florida paradise, and I'm in South Florida, Miami, Fort Lauderdale. So I love it here. I don't miss the winters. However, all of us in Florida have to understand our vulnerability, our exposure, and our chief hazard, which is the hurricane. So this all started in terms of our institute with Hurricane Andrew, which hit back in 1992, a Category 5, just south of the Miami metro area. And that woke up Florida to the fact that we live in a place that can be affected by hurricanes, and that it changed everything in terms of emergency management, building codes, and of course, research. And so our institute and the International Hurricane Research Center was born after Andrew to be a place in terms of what can we do now in terms of research to be able to be more resilient against hurricanes. And so that's what we do. So we have one team that works on storm surge modeling with the National Hurricane Center. We have another team that works with the Office of Insurance Regulation, state of Florida, in determining insurance rates. The equation predicts what the damage cost would be to a landfalling hurricane. And then, of course, we have the wall of wind, and that's the wind engineering component, which we're going to learn more about, how we test structures for their resilience. So it's all about preaching resilience, mitigation, which does in fact work, building codes work, and hurricane preparedness. All of us, no matter where you live in the country and your hazard, being prepared, and that's very important.
So, it's interesting. We talk about this, and I think a lot of people get concerned. They hear, doom and gloom, the hurricanes are coming, et cetera. And it's all a little bit, it's theoretical until the hurricane hits you. And so for anybody who wants to make this very, very real and actually have a bit of fun, talk a little bit about your wall of wind. And then for everybody, we're going to do a quick jump over to a YouTube video. And we think this is a Disney game ride. It should be a lot of fun. So Erik, tell us a little bit about the wall of wind, and then we'll jump over to the video.
Sure. The Wall of Wind program has been absolutely amazing. Again, I mentioned Hurricane Andrew. After Hurricane Andrew, then the Wall of Wind program started. Today we have 12 fans, but it didn't start with 12. We started with 2 fans. They were like airboat engines that you see in the Everglades to do some initial testing and research. And then we went to 6 fans, 6 gasoline-powered 500 horsepower engines, and got good research from that. And then the engineers decided, let's go bigger, let's go to 12 fans. And that's what we're see there today. So that's the history of the Wall of Wind program. And then we became part of the National Science Foundation Nahiri Network. We're now on a national stage of a national network of experimental facilities against natural hazards. So that puts us on a national stage. If anyone gets wind engineering funding from the National Science Foundation, they can bring their research project to the Wall of Wind. And so that, coupled with community outreach, letting the community know the research that we do, and of course, all the partnerships that come along with that community outreach. National Hurricane Center, NOAA, FEMA, NSF, and many more, all on the same page of resilience.
Great. So let's take a quick look, folks. Forgive the jumping around, but we're going to take a look at the Wall of Wind.
Is transmission of power. And that's important because we all depend on electricity, and I almost go all and more, right? Those things can create what I think is a very laminate flow, which is interesting to us because in home, we're very concerned with flow measurements, and airflow is squirrel, kind of goes all over. But here you can make it go perfectly straight when it steps into the flow and out of it. Is that your goal? The goal is certainly focused when towards concave, but structurally. The hurricane wind, not nice, straight and smooth, very perfect. We have engineered into the system a turbulent flow mimics hurricane. So in the real world, wind increases. So that's the wall of wind. In the flow management, the wind will increase the height because the when you think here, and of course, bad stuff happens. But their whole point is testing solutions to see how effective they are at the end. The other dairy research stations are featured in season 3 of Home Diagnosis. So you're going to see Erik there. You're going to see this facility and more in that upcoming season. So please do make sure to check that out at homediagnosis.tv. If you'd like to join us more, make sure you subscribe, comment below, ask questions, things like that. Tune in next time.
So now, Erik, I want to go to one more video and have you talk over this one personally. Folks, this is what happens in reality when a building gets hit with the wall of wind.
Sure. So this next video, there's no audio on it, and again, you'll be able to find this on our website too. This was a demonstration project, not a research project, but it was a demonstration project with a media team. And we get a lot of media requests, as you can imagine. But they wanted to come and basically, as they all ask, can we see something get blown apart and blown out the door? And we say, sure, we can do that. But we would like to also show folks how you can prevent damage. So we created this structure. The one side called the strong side, it had metal shutters and those metal straps in the attic, those roof tie downs. The other side was the weak side, no metal shutters and no roof straps, tie downs. So what we did was we hit the strong side first up to category 4 hurricane force winds, and basically nothing happened. And that was the point. Because then we spun it around to that weak side and watch what happens.
Boom.
Catastrophic failure. Watch that roof. And then when a building starts to blow apart, look at all the flying debris. And that's what can happen in a neighborhood as a strong wind event blows through. So a simple demonstration just showed that mitigation works. We know how to protect a home or a business. If we tie down the roof and we protect the windows with shutters, we have reinforced garage doors and so on and so forth, that can prevent damage and save everybody money in the long run. So the demonstration was very effective.
So I love that you had the bit down the bottom here. I'm going to go back to our slides about the cost of hardening a home. When we talk, forgive me. Forgive me, everybody. We're going back to the slides here. Apologies, everybody. Quick technical error. So for folks who want to learn more, this is where you can learn more information. Erik, what else can folks do to help support you guys?
Well, You know, big picture is everyone listening in your local community. What can you do to help spread the message of resilience? And what is your local county, your municipality doing in terms of, doing their best to be prepared against what the natural hazard is in your local community? And so getting involved. And bottom line, if you're going through a tornado season, you're going to go through a hurricane season, you know, being prepared as a family and as a business, having a plan, and neighbor helping neighbor, you know, all of us then, where we live, can make sure helping each other and our own neighborhood, special needs, elderly always need extra assistance. And again, forming those partnerships with local emergency management and your local resilience office as well. So as a team, then, we have to just continue this movement to improve resilience so we see less damage in the long run.
And I think this really speaks to our recommendations here at Building Financial Resilience. Again, your video showed it very well. So what we recommend, folks, is you do three things. Number one, build a 5 to 10 year financial plan that assumes at least one major catastrophic event impacting your home. Get ready for it. Number two, optimize your insurance coverages where you can. There are many different types of insurance besides just flood and homeowners insurance that you can get that can help mitigate the losses in the event that you have them. And then number three, most importantly, as Erik's video just showed, invest the time and money in cost mitigation. If you put things like storm shutters up, if you harden your roof, if you spend just a few dollars making sure that your property is better prepared for the next storm event, you could save yourself 10x whatever you spend in the front end. So we really encourage people to do that. Don't just do it for yourselves, do it for your neighbors. You know, I've seen some videos where in the middle of a storm event, somebody went out and cleaned away a storm gutter, and that was just cleaned everything out for the rest of the event. If you would like to learn more, we've got the book, we've got the blog, we've got the podcast, and we'll be doing some more podcasts coming up soon. Thank you, everybody, for your time. Erik, really appreciate your time and information. Thanks again. We'll see you soon.
You're very welcome. My pleasure, Ken.